myself with that. I don't concern myself, and I'm just going to be real. I don't concern myself with whether I came from Africa or any of those things, because I do understand this. The word says that when I accepted Jesus Christ, I became a new creation in him. Old things are passed away and all things are now new. That means I have a new life, a new bloodline, a new thought process. Everything about me is now new. So the enemy, the only way he can keep me out of the new, keep me out of what God has for me, is to keep me focused on the past of what I didn't have. Keep me focused on how they beat me, how they stole from me, how they abused me, to keep my heart bitter and angry and impure, so that I cannot take hold to what Jesus has for me. Many of us have never, ever seen racism, but we suffer from generational racism. We suffer from generational, ancestral racism. That is a generational curse that the Lord wants to break on us African American people so we can prosper. We cannot continue to see ourselves the way that the media spins it. Why do you think they keep putting racism in your face? Why do you think that the media keeps showing us racism? Because it wants to keep you angry. It wants to keep you mad. It wants to keep you bitter, because all of these things keep you out of the blessings that God has for you, the joy that God has for you. God says, vengeance is mine. I'm gonna deal with that. And I know people don't want to hear this, but I'm telling you, this is what the Lord is saying. Stop focusing on getting revenge. Stop focusing on the past. Focus on the future that I have for you, because in this future that I have for you, you are mighty. You are great. You can speak to mountains and they'll move and be cast into the sea. You can speak to sickness and disease and it has to go. So it's the mindset now has to be who you are in Christ, not who you are in this world, because who you are in this world doesn't matter at all to the enemy. And that's who's coming after you. It's not your haters. It's not white people. It's not Asian people. It's not Black people. It's not any of those races. It's the enemy. It is Satan himself coming to devour you like the roaring lion that the word says he is. So we as believers need a revelation that we are being deceived by this multi-armed octopus that is keeping us, our minds bound up in all of this stuff and keeping our eyes off the prize, which is the Christ, which is the answer, which is the way, which is the truth, which is the light. And all of the inheritance that Jesus died for you to have, the enemy is stealing it by keeping your eyes in the rearview mirror. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to drive forward by staring in the rearview mirror. I can't do it. I have to keep my eyes focused on the road ahead of me. Every now and then I'll glance up to make sure, where I'm coming from is safe, but I keep my eyes focused before me so that I can see the path that I'm going on, not the path that I was on. So I'm not saying we should throw our culture out. We should not. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, as believers, we have got to shift our minds, because the enemy has such a deceptive trick for us. He gets in our emotions. He gets in our feelings. He gets in our pride. And he deceives us out of everything that God has for us. And God is saying to you today, wake up. Those of us who are fake woke, wake up and see what the Lord is saying to you about everything that you're involved in, everything you're connected to. You need to know, am I connected to an assassin? Am I connected to an assignment? Am I connected to a divine connection? Who am I connected to? Why am I connected to this group, this person, these people, this ideology, this thought process? We cannot continue to just idly go by and believe everything that we hear and see, because the enemy is the master of deception. He's been deceiving for thousands of years, thousands and thousands of years. And it's so interesting to me that he can only deceive us 3 ways: the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. And those 3 ways, even though we're completely and totally cognitive of those 3 ways, it still works. It still works. He's still deceiving us. He's still stealing from us. Come on, we have got to really get before God and really understand, what is the answer? What is the answer? So I just want us to go back. You know, sometimes we get so super revelated and so much knowledge that it takes away common sense. You know, common sense. Let me give you a common sense thing. How many churches have you gone to where they had the communion table covered up? I mean, all of us have been to those churches where the communion table is covered like it's some sacred jewel of the Nile or something. But when we look back at the origin of where that came from, it's because church was held outside. So they covered the communion table so the flies wouldn't get in the juice and on the crackers, because don't nobody want no nasty crackers. So I'm saying this to say, we have to know the origin of what we believe. We cannot continue to blindly just follow culture, blindly just follow, because the enemy is deceiving us. He's deceiving God's people. And it is time for us to wake up and smell the coffee, because this generation that's coming up, they're in trouble. And if we don't do something, the righteous seed of God, because that's who they are, the righteous seed of God, is going to be in a warfare, a level of warfare that they're not going to be ready to handle. Now, the great part about it is the Bible tells us that we win. But come on, can't we win a little better? Do we always have to win in the last quarter? Do we all, I'm gonna be mean now. Do we always have to be the Falcons? Come on now. Do we always have to win in the last few seconds of the game? Can't we get a lead? Can't we move ahead in this thing by just discerning what is in front of our eyes and really hear what God is saying? Some of the things that you're doing right now in your own personal worship time with God is not God. They are linked to ungodly beliefs. They are linked to witchcraft. They are linked to things from our culture that we were taught, that we were brought up in. That's why he says, I'm the way, because the ways that we've been going are not correct. He is the only way. He is the only truth. So the only way that we can get to the Father is through Christ, and he has the answers of how we should live our life. So picking up all of these outside influences, you know, Julian, I had a dream the other night, and I'm not going to tell the whole dream, but in the dream, I saw another culture. I saw someone who represented another culture, and they were influencing these women, and the women were being sex trafficked, and they didn't even know it, because they were dressed beautifully. They were all in white, and they had harem clothes on, and they were diamonds and studded. And the Lord began to share with me, this is my house right now. This is my church. There's so much deception in my house. They don't even know that they're being prostituted. They don't even know that they're being trafficked by the enemy, because they look good and they sound good and they have the right diamonds and they got the white on, but they don't even know that they're being trafficked. They're being prostituted in my house. So there has to be a revelation of waking up to who Jesus is and what he's saying to the culture of this time. This last day woman at McDonald's, at Burger King, in the DoorDash person, this end time warrior. Amen. I gotta get some water.
Go ahead, get some water, sis. We dropping jewels over here on today's episode. You all, Pastor T is over here coming with all the arsenal, all the firepower, and making sure that we know that these are the end times, you all. These are the times that we need to be armoring up, and as she said, getting the next generation ready, because you never know what lies ahead, but we got to stay ready if we are in our word. And so we are definitely opening it up for some questions and any type of comments from any of our wisdom listeners, or even any of our Twitter space listeners. If you have any questions for Pastor T, feel free to come on to the stage, or if you want to make a comment, feel free to also come on to the stage here on Wisdom or Twitter Spaces. We're dropping a ton of jewels on a prophetic word on the state of the culture with Pastor T. And so if you have any questions or any feedback, any comments for Pastor T before we get ready to wind